What's up, you big, beautiful Madridistas? Kiyan Sobhani here. We're about to dive into Real Madrid's win over Leganes in Butarque in the Copa del Rey quarterfinals. Gonzalo Garcia. We got some stuff to discuss. But first, shout out to our presenting sponsor, Moji Mates. Today we're rocking Eduardo Camavinga. 4 different iterations. I don't know if you can see them all on the camera, but get well soon, Eduardo. We miss you. Go to moji-mates.com to get your favorite Real Madrid player on a shirt. They got a ton of great designs, moji-mates.com. And also a quick shout out to our other presenting sponsor, TAFC Academy. Not only do they got March break camps coming up, but also summer camps. Register now. Get ahead of the curve. Go to tacsports.ca. They got soccer clinics, basketball clinics, swimming clinics, and of course, located in Toronto. So if you're anywhere in Toronto, Ontario, go to tacsports.ca for state-of-the-art facilities, state-of-the-art coaching, lovely people to work with. We love you guys, TAFC Academy. And without further ado, Leganes 2, Real Madrid 3. We got Leah coming up here in about 37 seconds.
Nice article in the Managing Madrid blog. Wonderful lads that do a great job there. And worth reading about that man there. Karim Benzema needs to rest, and the numbers reveal why.
Times ended up almost looking like a 6-3-1. Some very good writing about that on the Managing Madrid website. First rate podcast as well. Of course, Fede Valverde was a huge part of the equation.
Hello and welcome to the Managing Madrid Podcast. Welcome, Leah Revelle. How you doing?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing great. You know, we had decided if this game goes into extra time that we were going to record now anyway and just turn this into a watch along for the YouTube people. It would have been unprecedented in Managing Madrid Podcast history. We've never done watch alongs before. I just didn't really want to wait until like another 30 minutes to log on and give post-game thoughts. So I'm really, really thankful for Gonzalo motherfucking Garcia, who came in and scored at the death. Just before we started recording, I had the feed still on in the background. And Craig Burley said, like, just before I turned off, Craig Burley said something to the effect of like, we're all really happy this is not going to extra time. I don't often agree with Craig Burley, but I really agreed with him on that note. So here we are.
Yeah. Otherwise, I would have needed something to gouge my eyes out while I was watching that, because I could not possibly watch another 30 minutes of our Real Madrid ball today. Let's be honest.
It just was not pretty. I don't know how else to put it. It was not pretty. It was not fun. And it also didn't really have the tension of like a knockout tie when you're like on the verge of elimination, probably because it's the Copa and we just are not good at this tournament, relatively speaking. Possible Clásico semifinal coming up. Just realize that. Okay. Cross that bridge when we get there. I'm sure Barcelona will beat Valencia tomorrow. So let's try to stick to the main talking points. Ancelotti starting 11. We'll start there. Pretty heavily rotated. So you had, Mbappe and Jude did not even travel with the squad, so they were not here at all in Butarque. And then the bench was largely Castilla players. I mean, the first team players were only Vini, Ceballos, Fran Garcia, and Vasquez, who did not play, and Jesus Vallejo, who I don't count, who might as well just be in space. No one would know if he was in space or with the Real Madrid first team. You had Gonzalo Garcia, you had Fran Gonzalez, Sergio Mestre, Chema Andres, Lorenzo Aguado, Mario Rivas, and then in the starting lineup you had Jacobo Ramon, RIP Jacobo Ramon's Real Madrid career. Carlo Ancelotti is not bringing you back. And then you had Arda Güler start, you had Endrick start. Yeah. I've said enough. Fede Valverde did not get a rest in this game. He continued to play. He played right back. So, starting lineup, what did you like? What did you not like?
Here's the thing. There must be some sort of vendetta against Copa del Rey after losing so many that they just don't give a shit about it anymore, because I understand like cup games rotating players. that's fine. But like in a quarterfinal, when it's the only, I understand we have the derby on the weekend, we have Champions League next week. If you're going to rotate everyone, you might as well rotate Fede too, because did he not learn from Rudiger? No. Did he not learn like from that injury? Because Rudiger was a warrior until he got injured, you know? Hi.
He says he wants to say hello. You have to say Hala Madrid.
Hala Madrid.
Hala Madrid. Okay. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, so I'm happy with the rotation. Finally, he's rotating, is what I'm saying. However, an interesting time to rotate, like maybe a couple games ago in the Super Copa. You know, maybe a game against like a bottom table team in La Liga could have been a good opportunity to rotate. But overall, I think it's just shown us what we needed to know. That there is, in fact, imagine there is Castilla talent that we could have on our bench and travel with the team. And also all of the people that don't usually start, specifically Endrick. I mean, Asensio is already a given. We've talked about that. Jacobo, like, I feel for the guy because he had a couple moments, you know, where he looked decent, but you're starting him for the first time in a Copa del Rey quarterfinal against a team that's also in La Liga. Like, he's not even had any minutes elsewhere in La Liga, even like a substitution, 5-10 minutes at the end of a game when we're leading 4-0. You know what I mean? That's a lot of pressure for him. So I don't think that was necessarily fair. I mean, I'm happy that he got the opportunity. I'm happy that he got the start, but the circumstances were like really not in his favor because he going into that game, he's like, he knows what's on the line. He knows the derby's coming up. He knows the Champions League against City is coming up. And he knows that we don't have center backs. So like that's even more pressure for him to perform because I'm sure he wants to start or he wants minutes in those games, you know? So yeah, I don't think he was really set up for success there at all. So I feel for him. The penalty sucked. To be honest, the tackle was great. Like he got a little bit unlucky that it hit his arm, but like a second earlier, maybe a second later, so it would hit his head. I don't know. Like he put himself in the position. He literally threw himself in front of that shot. So those are the things that I took away from that. Mendy, like I'd be happy to never see him put on a Real Madrid kit ever again in my life. Tchouameni played at DM. He had a good game, obviously. And also between Endrick and Gonzalo Garcia, it's clear like we function well with like a number 9, like a classic number 9, a center forward. Imagine my shock. The system that we've been playing for the last decade with a like actual number 9, and it works. Imagine. So anyways, I digress.
I took a bunch of mental notes as you were speaking because there's a lot you touched on. Just starting with the top, and you're talking about the priority and the Copa del Rey. One of the things that I found interesting in Carlo's book is that he actually said at Real Madrid, they tell you prioritize the Champions League. That's where you exert all your energy. If you need to rest, you do it in other tournaments. You do it in Copa del Rey. You do not do it in Champions League. That's the focus. And, you know, in a game like this, it's pretty apparent. And I agree with the logic, by the way. Like, if, you know, obviously, we're not going to see Jacobo Ramon against Manchester City. But that leads into a discussion about Jacobo Ramon because the human side of me just feels bad for him. You know, I'm sure he's not going to sleep well tonight. I also, you know, the reality is he just wasn't good. Not that he isn't good, period, but he wasn't good tonight. And you think about just kind of under pressure, he looked very shaky. His challenges were mistimed. Obviously, had the handball where he just has his arm out, flying in, and just doesn't look good. You know, we all saw it. I also think your point is important about, is this the game you need to play him in? Should it have happened a long time ago? And I think the case is always like when you know Real Madrid's center back situation is as thin as it is, Why not give him looks like earlier on, like when there were plenty of games this season, you're up like 3-0, 4-0 even,
Yeah.
and you get people coming on, and he's not one of them, or like Lorenzo Aguado or Jesus Fortea, they're not one of them. I get it. Look, like there's a lot of players that need playing time, so I get why that is challenging, but certainly he didn't look good tonight, and it's tough. And I wonder like how harsh you want to be on him tonight, because he clearly had nerves. The conversation from like the most avid Castilla watchers has always been Jacobo is better than Raul Asensio. And that Raul Asensio was actually the least of the three center backs that were promising, like Jean Martinez, Jacobo Ramon, Raul Asensio. Raul Asensio was put beneath those two. And he comes in and he looks the best. I mean, Jean Martinez is way too early. We don't know. Who knows? Jacobo Ramon could have a really good career. We don't know based on this performance tonight. But I wonder how unfair is it if we rate every single youth team product based on Raul Asensio being abnormally great right away. Like, and that's a testament to Asensio. Like, we give credit to that. But he set the bar high. Like every Castilla guy who comes in has to look as good as he does right away. And so I don't know how fair that is, but it is what it is. That's Real Madrid. Like there's little patience, and if you either sink or float, or no, did I get that right? Yeah, sink or float, float or swim,
Yeah.
sink or swim,
Sink or swim.
So you gotta float to
Something
swim,
like
so
that.
it still applies. So yeah.
And also the thing too is like if let's say Rudiger was still in the lineup and then Jacobo Ramon started, I think he would probably have a different game because Rudiger is a senior in that team. He has seniority. He also has authority in that back line. So I do think that Asensio like offers some of those leadership qualities, but he's also brand new. And then on your left, you have Mendy, who, enough said. Fede like is a good leadership option. Of course, he's a captain. Like that's great, but also doesn't play in that position. Doesn't necessarily like. Center back partners are just, they work together sometimes or they don't. And I think that maybe if he had a more like authoritative center back partner or a more experienced, let's say, because they play on the same team in Castilla. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not any different. It's not like he's coming up and he's working beside like Rudiger or a Sergio Ramos or like whomever. So I think that could have changed his fortune also. But yeah, I don't know. The same kind of thing is my opinion for all of the people that were rotated today. Like Brahim is an anomaly because normally I would say like he plays better as a substitute.
Brahim was great. He was probably our best outfield player today.
Yeah.
Lunin was the other one that stood out.
Shock.
Yeah.
Which is the classic. But like this is what I'm saying. Like you can't expect these players like Arda didn't have necessarily a great game, not a super standout. Doesn't play. Like what do you want him to do? You know what I mean? Like it's very different again in a knockout game. Like this it's again, do we care about Copa del Rey? Don't know. There is a treble on the line possibly. So like there is some importance to this game and to this cup. But when your players don't play and then you field them for like you all of a sudden rotate them in a knockout cup game, like that adds a lot of pressure and they're not match fit and they're not used to playing with all of these people. Endrick, I think, did well. Like I think, yes, the goal, but just his positioning, his awareness and his positioning up top was really impressive. And I think that that's honestly what we're missing right now is someone that like knows, not that Mbappe doesn't know, but Mbappe is historically a winger, like it's different positioning. It's different, like mental. If you're a striker your whole life, you understand what runs to make, what positions to get in. And Endrick showed a little bit of that tonight. So although I think that he played well, it's the same thing. There's only so many expectations.
For sure. Look, on Endrick, and then we can move to Gonzalo Garcia discussion. Endrick just like today it was a perfect Endrick example game. Like this is what he does. He makes a ton of mistakes. He's very raw. He's unpolished. He's a bit clumsy, and he'll pop up for a goal. I also think, like, for what it's worth, because he's not like the traditional target, right? Like the commentator on my feed kept mentioning Joselu, Real Madrid Joselu, not Endrick in this game. And there was one instance in the second half where he actually was in a heading position. Vinny puts in a beautiful cross, and it just goes over his head. And it's like he doesn't, even when he's there, he does not have that ability to just leap and head it. He had one that actually he did. I think it was a corner. It came in and he was like open, and it came to his head, but he hit it with his shoulder instead of his head. So, I guess, look, it's not a pure 9 profile. Like we don't have that in the squad. We'll see if Gonzalo Garcia can turn into that. I mean, we'll see. Which leads us to this super chat from Nishlesh Patil, who says Gonzalo to Getafe in a season or two. Let's go. I get the sarcasm. This would be a classic case of like Borja Mayoral, Juan Milatasa. However, and you know what? I immediately when I saw him score, I thought of Sergio Arribas in the Club World Cup like 2 years ago. He comes in off the bench within 30 seconds. He scores, and I was like, yes, finally, Arribas. The Arribas agenda pays off, and now he's in the second division with Almeria. He's still good. I still believe in him. He's not going to be a Real Madrid player, but he can be a good La Liga player. The difference between Gonzalo Garcia maybe and some of those guys is that his record in Castilla is pretty incredible. Like, pretty sure like he's one of the greatest scoring Castilla forwards ever. The rate.
Didn't he just score like 4 goals?
Yeah, maybe. I missed that. I've been out of loop with the Castilla the last like week or two. But
he scored like 4 in his last game and then comes and wins the game for Real Madrid.
Beautiful.
Pretty crazy.
There you go. So his numbers in Castilla are incredible, and everyone speaks highly about him. So maybe this case will be different. We'll see. It is hard, admittedly, to break into the attacking positions coming out of Castilla. You're more likely to break into the back line because Real just signs a lot of firepower. Maybe the profile helps. His profile might help him because we don't really have a profile like him in the squad. But, we may not see him again until next year.
Well, this is the thing. Like, I think we haven't really seen him. And he has Endrick in front of him. Like, Lord knows Ancelotti will play Rodrygo up top in front of him. I'm hoping that this gives him like a little bit of push, especially because there's a reason why he was called up. Like, he's doing well in Castilla. So in terms of profile, like, it could be something that we need. It's just, I don't know. We know how Ancelotti is and how stubborn he is with rotations in general, with like the first team players that we have, let alone Castilla players. But I don't know. If in fact he does leave at the end of this year, I think we could probably see some of that changing. But he at least deserves to be on the bench for the next little while. Like, I don't see why he wouldn't, especially for Copa del Rey. Like, if you're going to rotate today, you might as well rotate. But then we go back into, like, if we're playing Atletico Madrid or Barcelona, then doubt it. But
Leah, I think this is it for this season for him.
Yeah.
There's no other game on the schedule he'll get a shot. No. Don't see it. Next Copa del Rey game will be against Barca. That's full strength, bench full strength, A team. And then Ancelotti, I don't think we'll ever put him ahead of Endrick in the pecking order.
Yeah.
Because Endrick needs minutes. That's it. Gonzalo Garcia, thank you. We'll see you
Thank you for your contribution. Maybe you won us Copa del Rey.
So, Yalam Yuksul Konu says, I used to only watch 15-20 Madrid games per season, mostly Champions League, and I thought how easy it must be to be a Real fan. Then I've watched every game since Arda joined, and I realized it's just as stressful. It doesn't matter who we're playing. It's stressful.
Yeah. Yeah, this season especially. The thing about it is, like, here's the narrative that I hate. Like, we win things. People don't understand how we win things. Like, a lot goes into these games, especially when your squad is so thin that is this worse than what was the season 18-19 or 19-20? 18-19, right?
18-19.
Yeah. Is this worse than 18-19? It could be.
No, come on. 18-19 was one of the worst years of my life.
But in terms of injuries, like,
well, okay, I don't know, but just in terms of how the season went.
Yeah.
Look,
Yeah.
maybe that'll change, but like in February of that year, we were out of all competitions. Like,
Yeah, fair.
this year, we're in Copa. Maybe we'll be eliminated in Champions League. Who knows? But even if we are, La Liga, we're still there. Like,
Yeah.
that year, like even La Liga, it was over. Like we didn't have a chance to make up the ground. That season was lost
Yeah.
like way in February. It was crazy.
I think it was COVID season that we had like the most injuries in Europe, 62 or 64 or something. It was 1920 or 2021, I don't remember. Whatever year we had the salmon. The Veron disaster.
Yeah, that was 1920. 1920.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the year. And I would say our injuries are worse this year. At least we made some signings that year. Like we had
No, wait, 1920 was
No, 1920 was Hazard year, no?
Yes. Yeah, well, okay, now I'm getting it mixed up because we were during COVID. So March 1st, I think it was the last game in the stands. It was the Clásico de Mariano, the goal Mariano scored in the 2-0 Clásico. And I think just before that same week, we lost to Manchester City 2-1 with the Sergio Ramos red card.
Yes.
And then we returned that season behind closed doors at the Etihad, and Varane makes the mistake. So that's 1920, right?
Or 2021. I don't know. Whatever.
It doesn't matter. We wasted too much time on this conversation.
Yeah. That year was really bad for injuries, and I think this year is worse. But the thing is, it's a catch-22 for us because we have no squad depth, zero, literally zero. Our entire bench is Castilla. And we're not making signings, yet we're still winning things. So are they actually doing us any favors? Are we doing ourselves any favors? No, because if we're winning things with the squad depth we have, what's going to push Perez to make signings? Nothing. So I digress.
Anchor Giorgi Bordeloy says, Asensio is a great ball-playing defender. What does our defense look like against Atletico and City? Arda wasn't great. And Mendy is a huge liability. Sell him. Let's go chronological order. Let's go reverse chronological order because YOLO. Mendy is a huge liability. Sell him.
Yeah, period. Full stop. However, how do we feel about him playing at center back?
I mean, what are the options?
Well, yeah.
It's Tchouameni and Asensio, really.
The thing is, I don't think he starts. Actually, that's a lie. I do think he starts, unfortunately. But I would like to see Ferland Garcia start. At least Asensio and Tchouameni at this point have match fitness and they've played together. So, there's some kind of ounce of confidence there. The only thing is, centrally, Mendy might not need to push forward as much as he would as a fullback. And sometimes if he's on, we give a lot of Mendy hate, but if he's on defensively, then he's on. He does well.
I can't remember the last time he was.
This is the thing.
Now, I do remember last year we had a similar conversation for the first 6-7 months of the season, and then he was better in the knockouts in the Champions League. Yeah. And I was like, okay, well, thank you for showing up here.
Yeah.
But he hasn't showed. I guess, but the thing is, my problem is too, I'm not thrilled about any left back option we have right now. And I like Ferland Garcia and I like the way he's played for the most part, but I'm not that Like, it's not like I'm that excited, like, oh, Fran Garcia's starting today either. Like, we need an upgrade at left back, I think.
Yeah.
I don't think
Yeah, I agree.
either of these two players are Real Madrid caliber starting left backs. I
Yeah.
think if you have them in the squad, they're fine to have as a backup, either of them. I don't think, like, when I'm talking about Real Madrid starting left back, I'm thinking of course, like the elites, like Roberto Carlos, Marcelo, Jose Antonio Camacho. Like, these guys are that's the caliber of play we need at that position, and at every position for that matter. But it's not great. Wingback situation is, we talked about it to death. So it's not like, it's just a really troubling
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah, I agree. I think what we have with Fran, Mendy lacks, and what Mendy has, Fran lacks. At least, like, going forward, Fran Garcia has some competence as to, like, how to overlap, how to get the ball in, how to make runs. I don't see as much of that with Mendy. And defensively, honestly, like you said, recently, he's just a liability. So, yeah, I don't know. I can see him starting because who does City have? Savinho? Or is he on the left? He's on the right, right?
Who?
City.
No, but which
Oh,
player
Bernardo
was
Silva. Who's going to be attacking on that
He'll
side?
be on the right. I mean, you might throw in Savinho there. You might, Foden sometimes will drift there. I think it'll be depending on if Doku's back, will he go Doku left and Savinho on the right?
And
Marmoush
because of
somewhere
that,
floating around.
I don't know if I can see Fran Garcia starting that game. The only other thing is defensively, City aren't like set up super well right now. They have some defensive issues also. So maybe like Ancelotti will be thinking about that on the overlap, like with Vinny. But I don't know. That could go either way. I think, unfortunately, it's one of those two. So
Arda Güler.
this I would like to see, to be honest.
Well, I brought him up because he's the next in this super chat to discuss, and he says, and Uncle Joti says Arda wasn't great. I thought he was just a mixed bag. I don't know how else to put it. I actually think he did some good things. Like, some of his passing was very good. His dribbling out of pressure in tight spaces was pretty good. He played the right ball like less than a handful of times. And also, I think just kind of was easily pushed off the ball and made some really poor passes at other times, even when he wasn't pressured. So it's still not the Arda we want to see. And it's still not the player that plays with the same bounce and leadership than he does with the Turkish national team either. And that's obviously because he's surrounded by more stars here. He has less of a leadership role. So we're still waiting to see that great version of Endrick. I don't know. What did you think of his performance?
The same. I think I still have the same opinion that, like, I've seen what he's capable of. Like, he showed moments of brilliance throughout the season. So I know what he can do. And then obviously with the Turkish national team too. I think it's very dependent now on like how the team sets up, how the opponent sets up. The reality of it is I still have the same opinion of like, you need match fitness, you need minutes in order to improve that. Like, just training isn't gonna, help your match fitness or help your like confidence in game. However, on the contrary, like, it is at the end of the day, Leganes, if you can't, even have like a considerable passing accuracy against Leganes, then how are you going to cope with the pressure against Atletico Madrid or Manchester City? However, I still am a big Arda believer. I don't necessarily think he's ready to start against Atletico Madrid or Manchester City. But I think giving him minutes, fresh legs again against tired legs in like the 70th minute. He had some moments of brilliance today too, where he's great on the ball. He's very fluid. When he does, he can be super creative and create opportunities and get the ball in the box. And so, especially against Atletico Madrid, we'll need that. I think City might be a little more open, but Yeah, I feel indifferent about his performance because I've seen what he can do. I've seen him have good games, I've seen him have bad games. And like he plays once a year. So I can't fault him too much.
It's going to be hard for him to get rid of them. I mean, and also like with regards to like would he be ready for Atleti and City? The reality is like between him and Brahim is just more ready and established and just better right now. So you have to go with Brahim, and I think that it's going to be hard for Arda to break. But like, look, it's growth is not linear.
Mhm,
Like you
mhm.
said, he has moments of brilliance, no question. So yeah.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to we got more super chats, but I do want to address a couple Ancelotti post game quotes. Ancelotti said after the game, we suffered a bit at the back. Jacobo paid a bit for his first game with us. He was a bit nervous, and then he got more successful. Gonzalo, he's on a very good run with Castilla. We got to be satisfied with what the youngsters have done, and we have to count on them. Endrick scored. He has a good feeling from his work with the team. The youth team is adding value. Those who work at the bottom are doing well, and players are ready to come. They lack experience. That's all. We have to take into account that Jacobo is coming off a very long injury. He still needs something. We are aware that we can count on them. I put the team out today to try to win the game, not to give minutes to the youth team. This year, they've had the opportunity due to injuries, and they're doing well. And again on Jacobo, because I think he was just asked about Jacobo like every question. Jacobo is not what he played today because I think he paid a lot for it being his first game with the first team. We are counting on him, and he will be with us until the end of the season. He will play better than he did today. I like that. Words of encouragement.
Mhm.
Also, the key on avoiding extra time. We avoided extra time, which would have been more difficult to recover from. We left players out to be ready on Saturday, so we'll be prepared. Yeah, that's honestly, thank God this did not go into extra time for that reason as well. Not just for our
Yeah.
own happiness, but just for the recovery process.
Yeah.
Says hopefully Kamavinga can recover. Lucas had a small problem today, and that's where the doubt lies. Oh, okay. I thought interesting. So Lucas was actually possibly had a bit of a niggle, and it wasn't just rest. Getting Lucas rested and ready for Atletico City back to back for the big games. Managing Madrid had just a joke about it on Twitter today, like Lucas finally getting taken off the lineup today, but it's
God.
because he's being rested for Atletico and City, which
Uh,
makes me uncomfortable.
yeah. But see, it's exactly what he said. It's exactly what Ancelotti said. Like, it's his first game with the first team, and you're starting him in a knockout game again in Copa del Rey with a lot of pressure. Like, this is do or die. If he had a game like Asensio's first game, there's a good chance that he would start on the weekend. And there's another good chance if he plays well on the weekend, there's a good chance he starts against City. So, like, that alone, let alone just playing a knockout game in Copa del Rey with the first team when you have, all of your, like, idols playing on the team. You're playing alongside Luka Modric. Like, I don't know. I just feel like the poor guy was really just not set up for success.
What does our defense look like against Atletico and City? Do you want to take a crack?
I think it'll be Mendy, Tchouameni, Asensio, Lucas Vázquez.
Yep. That's what it will be.
Yeah.
There is no like room for theorizing or getting creative. That's what it's going to be.
Yeah. Especially now too, because like this weekend's game, if we hadn't lost against Espanyol, this weekend's game could have been another like a bit more. It is still a derby, but like it could have been a little bit of a more comfortable situation. But now we're only 1 point clear of Atletico Madrid. And so if we lose this game, like they take the lead, So it's just as important for the league as the weekday match is for the Champions League. So I digress.
I think if there's a slight chance for change in that lineup, maybe, and it's kind of an outside shot, and maybe he'll go with Fede at right back. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I don't know. I feel like
he did have some praise for Fetty at right back today after the game too.
and I think Fetty's another one of those people that is like, you know, the Camavinga meme, like left back, right back, left wing, striker, goalkeeper. Yes. It's like I think Fetty's the same kind of player profile where like he can just play anywhere. He's just a racehorse. He has 100 lungs and 6 hearts. Like he can just go wherever and do wherever. I do think though, just given how defensive Atletico Madrid is, and now with like some, especially if Lucas Vazquez starts, well, I guess he wouldn't start if Fede starts at right back, but I just think he's probably more valuable in midfield and then supporting on that right-hand side rather than starting there.
Varun Krishnan comes in with some clarification. Thank you, Varun. He says it was 2020-2021 season with 62 injuries. Mm-hmm. The confusion is because we played with the 2020-2021 kit in the 1920 season for 1 or 2 games.
Yeah, COVID fucked everything up, honestly.
Yeah, Varun, actually, the confusion is not because of the kit. The confusion is because during the pandemic, I had a baby. And every single day, we were just in the house.
Groundhog Day. Yeah.
Every single day for like 2 years. And we may have just lost our minds. That's where the confusion comes from, Baru. Not the kit. Goddamn pandemic. Wait, why can't I hear you? I hate when this happens. Why can't I?
Can you hear me now?
Oh, you're back. Yeah.
Okay. I said also yes. It was Groundhog Day every day. And also, I can barely remember what I had for dinner last night. You want to ask me what happened? What year we had just 62 injuries? I know it was pink kits. Whatever year that was, I'd have to Google it. I don't remember.
Sheikh Atiri coming in to say, hear me out. 3-man back line. Camavinga left wing back.
If only he was fit.
Hey, Shay, we don't have Camavinga or 3 center backs. Just say FYI.
Do you know what? I am absolutely not against trying like a 5-back situation. Like we pretty much do that, or historically, we pretty much play that way anyways. Like our fullbacks have historically been relatively offensive. So like Marcelo was much more offensive than he was defensive. Same with Carvajal. So like, I don't know, with our like struggles of having no shots on goal until halftime, it could add some more creativity to at least like have people up and have the ball crossed into the box. I'm not against it. I'd like to see it one day.
I'm not against it, but these series of like, you go 3 at the back, Mendy left center back, and then you go Tchouameni, Asensio, and then Fede Valverde right wing back. Kind of like I'm intrigued to see it. Mm-hmm. It's just too radical of a change in the most pivotal part of the season for Ancelotti to even think about. Not only changing formation, but changing it to a formation that like has happened like less than 5 times in Real Madrid history, like 3 at the back.
Yeah, facts. It's not changing anytime soon, I don't think so.
Right. Yeah. Okay, cool. We talked about everything, I think.
I think so. Tchouameni had a good game. Happy for that. Obviously. Imagine my shock. He doesn't play center back and he has a good game.
I thought he was a bit better today. Ball winning in midfield was better. Was good under pressure. I think he could have done better on a couple of defensive sequences. I'm not even talking about the goal. He got criticized for the second goal, but there were a couple others I thought he could do better on. And one thing that we could really use just more of this season is a presence in set pieces.
Yes.
And I think that's like his best trait right now. Like he gets on the end of headers on set pieces. He's very good at that.
Agreed. Agree.
Vinicius.
He gets way too much. Listen, this Vinicius like hate campaign, I don't get it. I really don't. Like, I don't. I don't think he was like, he didn't score, he didn't assist, you know? Did he? No. Like, but the chances he created when he came on, like, were good. He created chances. He might have even created the most chances. I don't think it's like, I think now the problem is we have this like ridiculous expectation for him to contribute and like every single game in terms of GA. And if he doesn't, then it's considered a bad game. But like based on what he does normally, okay, maybe it wasn't like, a super great game for him. I don't think he was poor necessarily. I just think, he came on, he did what he had to do, created chances, and then that was that.
This video that went viral from El Día Después when Vinny wasn't getting the ball and Ceballos was passing the other way was the most ridiculous narrative I've seen in a long ass time. And social media is filled with just bullshit.
Yeah.
Even for bullshit social media standards, the amount of people you could just tell have never played a sport in their life upset at Vinicius for that.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, no, just do me a favor. Like, just get out of your mom's basement for like 5 minutes, go outside, sign up for a sport team, and play a sport.
Yeah.
And realize that this is the most normal thing you've ever seen in your life. There was absolutely nothing wrong with what he was doing in that video. Nothing. Just go outside and play a sport for the love of God, because you're embarrassing yourself. I'm embarrassed for you. I don't hate you. I'm embarrassed for you. I want you to be less cringe and do something with your life. Please stop embarrassing yourself with these wild takes. Because someone asked me on Instagram, because I do like Q&As, and someone asked, where did these Vinicius haters come from in the last like week? I'm like, they didn't come from anywhere. They always existed. They just waiting for the opportunistic moment to come out and show themselves. And then Vinny will just dominate for like entire season, 2 seasons, 3 seasons. They'll disappear for a stretch. The moment the opportunity arises to do anything, they'll just latch on like little leeches. And show themselves.
It's insane. He could do anything. He could breathe. He could breathe the wrong way. Like even other things. Like again, it comes down to this sport thing. Like if you get hacked at the ankles 17 times in one match without a single foul called, hell yeah, you're going to yell at the ref. Of course. It's the same thing. If you get harassed at work 17 times and you tell your boss and he doesn't do anything, then the 18th time you're going to be like, okay, well, what the fuck is happening? And then when you see XYZ, when you see like clips on Twitter going around of like Holland telling Arteta to be humble, or like Rafinha pushing or whoever it was from, you know what I mean? And it's like, haha, banter, so fun. Like, hello, you know what I mean? So anyways, I digress. There's just, like I said, there's this huge hate campaign, and that's what comes with being the best. So.
That's correct. Two people I think we didn't mention that deserve shout outs, Leah. I thought Rodrygo was good. And obviously, we already mentioned Brahim was good, but Modric too, because I think there was this weird period, like to start the game, we were not good. And Leganes had this weird formation that was kind of like a 4-2-4, where like the front four would wait till, we bring the ball close to the halfway line and they would press, and we weren't getting out of our half. We were having problem dealing with that. I think Modric's composure eventually calmed us down. He started to like just play some nice vertical passes. Obviously, he scored too, and Rodrygo was important in both goals as well. So shout out to these guys.
Rodrygo is very obviously. Here's the thing, though. Here's my theory. It's the same thing I've said. He is best at left wing because he's a left winger. And by being a left winger, that means he's played left wing the majority of his life. He knows what runs to make on the left. He cuts in, shoots with his right. He's right-footed. Like, of course, it works better because he's done that for the last however many years that he's played the sport of football. And guess what? You change it and then you don't start, or you're inconsistent in that position, or you get, only some minutes, or you're moved between like center forward, 10, left, right, and you become inconsistent. Imagine my shock. You know, like, I think he has the most confidence on the left because he is a left winger. Like, that's the position he's played his whole entire life. I'm a left winger. When I play on the right, I don't like it. I'm right-footed. I'm the same as him. I'm the same as him. I'm not. But in the concept of, like, I cut in, I shoot with my right foot. You know, I can't imagine trying to I'm also not a professional footballer, but, like, trying to reframe my state of mind to then shoot with my right foot on the right without cutting in. Like, I think these, like, again, it's a lot of football Twitter that, like, has actually never kicked a ball or played the sport of football in their whole life that think they have these opinions, but it's realistic. Like, you're going from doing the same thing, cutting in getting in behind with your pace, cutting in, shooting with your right, to now playing on the right where maybe your left foot isn't as strong and you don't have necessarily that option or the confidence to cut in on your left and shoot with your left as you would on the left side. Like, that's a huge, like, fundamental skill that he's now developed for the entirety of his career that he has to change or adapt or work on. I'm sure I have a 2-star weak foot. I'm sure he has like a 4-star weak foot, but it's the same idea, you know, like, that doesn't happen overnight. And then you mix inconsistency in there. It surely doesn't happen overnight. So
Yeah.
it's a surprise to me that he's playing well on the left.
I think you're correct in stating that. I also learned that you and I play the same position because I'm left wing, inverted left winger, right-footed. I like to cut in and shoot or cross. But if I play on the right wing, I'll still dribble, but I'm going outside for the cross with my right foot. Or if I'm cutting in, I'm usually not shooting. I'm passing it inside.
Right.
So
with your right
kinda,
foot.
the triple threat is kind of gone from that situation.
Yeah.
Exactly. And this is kind of like why Arjen Robben was better on the right wing and instead of the left wing, because he was just devastating when he cut in.
Yep.
I also think part of the things something that I think works against Rodrygo is that he actually is good on the right wing. Like, he's not bad on the right wing. He can still dribble past players.
Yeah.
If he was like horrible on the right wing, it might actually work to his advantage, because then Ancelotti would maybe stick him there and like be like, Vinny, you got to figure out how to play centrally or go to the right. I don't know. But because he's good, like, he gets punished for it, unfortunately. Yeah.
And I might even say, actually, this is a very bold statement. I don't know if I believe this. I'd have to watch more. But, like, Vinny's play style and Rodrygo's play style are both very, very different.
Yes.
Like, you know, like, Rodrygo has always been way more direct.
Yes.
You know?
Direct in the sense that, like, maybe clarify that, because Vinny is a very, like, gung-ho.
Direct in the sense that, like, Vinny is he has a lot of flair. Rodrygo has flair too, but, like, Rodrygo takes on defenders in a different way that Vinny does. I
think he's a little bit quicker with his decision making, if that makes sense.
Yes.
And Vinny will still just go at defenders very, like, mercilessly and relentlessly.
Yes.
But he will also kind of slow the game down a little bit, and, you know, so I understand what you're saying. I think even though we're having trouble verbalizing, I think people know what we're talking about. Yeah.
Like, in a position where, let's say, like, either of them receive the ball on the wing, Rodrygo is taking 1 or 2 touches. He's passing it and taking the ball back and then taking a shot, or he's cutting in and taking a shot. Whereas, like, or he's making like 1, 2, 3 dribbles to get around a defender and then taking a shot. Whereas Vinny will take that ball to the goal line and cut it back, or he'll try to, like, add some of his flair like he does, and it works. It's just they're 2 separate play styles, and that's fine. I don't know if I think this. I'm going to say it out loud and then let me know what you think. Maybe in terms of adapting, 2 parts. Rodrygo came the year after Vinny. If he came before, it would be Rodrygo in that left wing position, in my opinion. I think he would have solidified that spot over Vinny, especially given Vinny's form at the time. But that's besides the point. My point is, I think Vinny's play style is more adaptable to an upfront position than Rodrygo's. Like, especially now since Vinny has, like, improved his shooting, his weak foot. Like, the way that he takes on defenders and the way that he dribbles can kind of be done anywhere. Whereas like Rodrygo is very lethal on the left side in his play style. So I think like in terms of play styles, Vinny's play style would be more adaptable to a different position than Rodrygo's. If that makes sense. But then also I don't know.
It's a hard one because we'll never know.
It's true.
I don't think it's a crazy thing to say that had Rodrygo been signed first and arrived first, that he would have been the one, because he has the talent to kind of bolt that down. But I also think Vinny is just a better player, and he's so good that he would have just risen to the top regardless.
Yeah.
So that's my stance. I always said I think Vinny has a higher ceiling and Rodrygo probably has a higher floor. But I just think if Vinny ever met his potential, like he was just too good to not get to the top. But it would have been interesting to see him navigate that. And so that's one what if, Leah. The other one is, I often think about this one, is that that 18-19 disastrous season, Vinny was one of the like bright spots. It was like, oh, cool. We get like this guy clearly has talented. He can't finish for shit, but he is like just embarrassing Gerard Piqué, and he's like a kid.
Yeah.
He's embarrassing Atletico. He's running circles around these guys. We have something here. And then we signed Eden Hazard, and Hazard, what if Hazard just arrived fully fit and ready to go and just took the left wing? That's another big one. Like, would Vinny have adapted on the right wing? It's a good question. I don't know. It's a big what if, actually, in Real Madrid history.
That's actually
what if
true.
Hazard was healthy?
I've never deeped that the way that I'm deeping it at this moment.
What is deep? Does that...
Like, I've never really, like, thought about it that much in depth.
Okay. I'm still learning. I'm learning. Every time I hear one of these words, I immediately run to Urban Dictionary to see what I...
ChatGPT. It'll tell you everything. The other what if is, what if Real Madrid actually made signings per position and just not like Galacticos? Like, what if they didn't sign 3 left wingers and actually signed like a right winger, a striker, and a left winger? What if Real Madrid made January signings when we have 0 center backs? What if?
There's a lot of great questions. All right, couple more super chats, and then we're out of here. And Gorgiotti says, side note, happy birthday to Cristiano Ronaldo. 40 going strong. See, yes, happy birthday to the GOAT. So I just saw that note? Did you see Pepe had like some good, nice quotes today? I
did. When he woke up in the hospital after his head injury. Cute.
Yeah, and Cristiano was just there, like with his family, like.
That's
cute. By the way, I have zero issue with Ronaldo believing he's the greatest player of all time. I also want to say that's another thing that kids were melting down over.
Yeah,
go play a sport.
The internet's so stupid because it's like, what's he gonna say? Actually, no, I don't think so. Believe in yourself, and that's number 1.
Eric Crack says, as a great philosopher once said, the haters will be our waiters at the table of success.
Period.
That's right, Eric.
Period. They will.
All the Managing Madrid haters will be taking our order in 5 years.
Period. When we have our interview with Ancelotti.
Yes, that'll be in 2-3 years, I think. Yeah.
I think you can make it happen.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for hopping live with us on YouTube. 53 minutes and counting. And we appreciate you guys. So if you guys missed it.
30 minutes. We said 30 minutes.
We always say 30 minutes and exceed that at least by 20-25 minutes. Those of you guys who are members, you got access yesterday to a podcast with Steven Mendes, who is the author of The Real Madrid Way, The Real Madrid Revolution. He's the type of guy who has such close access to the club that they give him full access for these books. And, you know, those Mbappe presentations, Endrick presentations, he's not only in the stadium, he's in the row on the pitch, like beside Florentino Perez. So it was really fun chatting with him about those 2 books that he wrote. And also, if you remember, tomorrow you get access to the mailbag with Lucas and I. and Manchester City second leg post-game show. That is only for members. So if you want access to all of that, patreon.com/Managing Madrid. If you're on YouTube, just hit join underneath this video. There should be a button if you're on your browser. If you can't find it, just go hit the memberships tab on the YouTube channel. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. Leah, thank you.
Likewise.
And peace out.